I accidentally found out what my foster daughter kept hidden from me, and it broke me. I first took Grace into my home when she was 7 years old. She was shy, quiet, and folded her clothes like a soldier. I didn't know much about her at first, just that she'd bounced between homes and never stayed in one place long. I was working 2 jobs back then, construction during the day and cleaning offices at night. I barely scraped enough together to cover rent, but when I first met Grace, something about her voice stuck with me. She sounded tired, broken, like a girl who needed help, and turning my back on her was not an option. 3 years have passed since then. She had never called me dad once, until this one specific Friday. She went on a field trip with her class. I used the time to finally deep clean the apartment. Her room was usually neat, but I figured I'd vacuum and straighten a few things. That's when I found it. Tucked behind her closet shoes, under a pile of sketchbooks, was a heavy mason jar labeled Adoption Fund. At first, I thought maybe it was for school or something, but when I opened it, I saw coins, crumpled bills, and a tiny notebook. She was tracking every cent. 2 years of savings. Her handwriting was careful, like she didn't want to make a mistake. At the very back, she'd done the math. Adoption costs. If I keep saving lunch money, I can pay for it in 6 more years. And right below that was a drawing of me and her holding hands. The words, "Real Family," floating above us like a title. I sat on her bed with the jar in my hands and just stared at it. I didn't cry right away. I just felt this awful squeeze in my chest. All this time, she thought she had to earn her place. That money was the reason I hadn't adopted her. That broke something in me. I didn't tell her I'd found the jar, but I started paying closer attention. She introduced herself at school as Just Grace. She smiled too hard when the caseworker came by. She cleaned up after me like she was afraid to make a mess. She'd never asked for anything, not once. I told my friend Trevor about the jar. He said she'd called him before off my phone and asked him for jobs around the construction site. He said he never told me because he figured it was just some inside joke between me and her. That hit me hard. Then one day the caseworker casually mentioned a forever family, had inquired about a girl Grace's age, said it was just protocol, but my heart dropped into my stomach. That night, I barely slept. The next week, her teacher called me about Grace skipping lunches. I didn't understand until I walked in on her counting coins at the table, her eyes wide when she saw me, hands scrambling to cover the jar. She tried to act normal, said she was just organizing, but I knew. A few days later, I came home after a double shift. The apartment was spotless. Dinner was waiting. Grace looked exhausted. She stood by the sink and said, I went red. She started crying, told me how she'd overheard the caseworker talk about adoption fees, and thought maybe if she saved enough, I wouldn't have to choose between her and the rent. I told her I was scared too, that I hadn't adopted her yet, because I didn't think I deserved someone like her. I told her I wasn't brave enough to believe I could be a good father. She walked over, opened the notebook, and showed me a page I hadn't seen. Reasons Dad is my dad. It was a list. Things like, he learned how to braid hair. He brings me snacks when he gets off work even when he's tired. He never breaks promises. That was the moment everything changed. We opened a bank account the next day. We called it the Family Fund. Trevor and my other friends helped fix up the apartment for inspection. The caseworker helped us apply for grants I hadn't even known existed. And funny enough, some of the coins in Grace's jar turned out to be collectibles worth way more than face value. 6 months later, I stood next to Grace in a courthouse, and when the judge asked if I wanted to make her my daughter, I didn't hesitate for a second, because she already was my daughter.